Hello and a very warm welcome to you. This is the Courthouse, our Law Class 101, where we get to learn the law together in plain, simple and entertaining language. I'm Olomu-Agbodo, and this week promises to be very, very informative. Stay tuned. After the break, we'll be right back.
Are you interested to know the importance of your words? How to activate the creative power in your words? How to say the right thing at the right time? Find out in this insightful masterpiece by Pastor Chris. Discover the principle of creation and recreation.
If you're going to live the true life that God has given to you, you must line up with the Word of God. This is where the ministry of the Spirit of God is indispensable, because it's the Spirit that actually knows the codes. Hear this. You can't just prophesy. You're going to prophesy as He commands you. You need the code. God, I need the sound code. I need the sound code. Hallelujah. I need the sound code. Once you have the sound code and you give it, creation will respond to you. Glory to God.
Tap into the wealth of divine principles and live in the future of your dreams as you learn the workable principle of sound code and the Spirit. This message is now available on DVD in a 2 volumes and 4-part series. To place your order, kindly call the following numbers now showing on the screen, or you can visit www.christembassy.onlinestore.org or download through the Pastor Chris Digital Library app, available on Google Play Store and Apple iStore. You will be glad you did.
You're welcome back. Well, if you just joined us, this is the Courthouse, and this week on the show, we are going to be taking a look at sovereign guarantee clauses. Recently in Nigeria, the term has been generating a lot of controversy, and we want to know better what it means. Of course, there are a lot of clauses inserted into contracts, into agreements, but this particular clause, the sovereign guarantee clause, is quite important to the nation of Nigeria and several other nations that may be getting into agreement with other sovereign nations to procure infrastructure projects and things like that. But as usual, we are joined by a seasoned legal practitioner, not just a legal practitioner, he's also a law lecturer from the Nigerian Law School, Lagos campus, and he is UC Kanu. Thank you so much for joining us on the Courthouse today. Okay, so we've been hearing about the sovereign guarantee clauses ringing the bell, sounding the alarm. A lot of legal practitioners and the like have been raising an alarm over what the implications of that clause may be. So before we look into the implications per se, just let us know a bit more about sovereign guarantee clauses and what they stand for.
All right, thank you. Sovereign guarantee clauses, they are clauses inserted in international documents, agreements between foreign country and another country in order to protect the interest of the country who is actually giving out certain facilities to the other country, so as to ensure that the interest of facilities so given, they do not just disappear, fizzle out without corresponding returns to the country giving us such facilities, just in a simple term.
Okay, so some people are saying the clause is not as simple as it sounds, that there may be some grave implications if a country actually signs a contract, for instance, with a nation like China that has a track record of probably entrapping other countries with their debt trap diplomacy. What is your take on that aspect of the sovereign guarantee clause?
Yes, well, we have to understand that the nation Nigeria operates a constitutional democracy. What do I mean by that? It's a nation ruled by law. We have the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which in its section 1 provides that the Constitution is supreme, is superior to any other law in the nation. And when you are looking at things that relate to the interests of Nigeria with a foreign government, you have to look at the provisions of the Constitution and other relevant laws. Now, the Constitution we're talking about is the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, fourth alteration as amended. Section 1 is clear. Subsection 1, subsection 2 is to the effect that no part of the country of Nigeria shall be taken over by any group of people. So this thing is very clear. And we have section 4 of the Constitution that vests the legislative powers of the nation on the National Assembly. So there are certain things that need to be done before the loan sought to be obtained actually takes effect. So that loan does not, that clause does not actually mean that Nigeria is signing away its sovereignty to China. That's not the implication. So we may also have to juxtapose it with the necessary loan that individuals can obtain in any of the financial institutions. No financial institution will give you loan without collateral. They need to ascertain that this person is a person of repute, that this person is not a person of straw, because it's business. China is not giving out the money for free. So they are also into business, they need money. And so parties need to see that the both ends, their interests are actually guaranteed. So it doesn't affect the sovereign entity of Nigeria, if properly done. But if not properly done, there are disadvantages, implications that it may eventually affect certain assets of the nation. Because from what I have heard or from what I have read, the loans sought to be obtained, they are tailored towards certain specific projects, like rail. Now, if eventually we default, which we are not praying that we are going to default, then those facilities that the money are being used to put up are the ones that the government of China are going to take over, and not anything that have to do with Nigeria. But we must be careful, because if the facility depreciates, that is, the facilities are not able to pay up for the balance of the money we obtained, then negotiation would also go in to see other assets that the Chinese government will take over in Nigeria.
Quite interesting. You know, this elucidates the position that some of the opposers of this particular clause, the sovereignty guarantee clause, have been talking about in recent times, saying that countries like Kenya and their port of Mombasa was almost signed away because they had this agreement with China for infrastructure loans as well. And also looking at other countries, we are generally looking at China and its track record. These are assets that affect the nation. For instance, the Nigerian one, we're looking at the Itakpe Rail, the project and all that, even though the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, is saying that it's just a clause. How come the issue is coming to the fore like this? You talked about the fact that if that rail asset depreciates, they might look into other aspects of the nation, and we don't know which other assets would actually be signed away when there's any occasion of default. Or like you said, we're not praying for any kind of default, but looking at it in perspective, putting it in perspective, give us some other implications that we might be facing.
Talking about Nigeria, in terms of the new loan we want to get from China for construction of railways, it depends on how you look at it. If you are ready, willing, and able to abide by the terms of the loan, and we are sure that the facilities that it will be used for will benefit the Nigerian people, and that this money cannot be sourced inward, then we can go for it, knowing that we must be able to pay back as at when due, else the assets that the loan was used to build will be acquired by China if we are unable to pay back as at when due. And the implication is, assuming the assets, when we have defaulted in payment, have depreciated in value, the Chinese government will enter into negotiation with Nigeria as to acquire any other asset. And we do not want to get into this mess. And that's why we must understand that Nigeria is the giant of Africa. What is happening in Zambia now cannot happen in Nigeria and should not happen.
Well, we've been speaking with Ugochukwu C. Kanu of the Nigerian Law School, Lagos campus, and he's been talking about the implications of signing the sovereign guarantee clauses, contracts or agreements with sovereign guarantee clauses. It may not necessarily mean ceding away the sovereignty of a nation, but in case of default, we do not know how grave the implications of that particular clause may be for a nation. So it is better to avoid such situations where you have to probably sign away the integrity or the sovereignty of your nation. Well, we have a report on the debt trap diplomacy of China and how it affects African nations. This is a wake-up call for African leaders so that they can steer clear of seeking external aids and loans, especially from countries like China. Take a listen.
The axiom, he who pays the piper dictates the tune, rings true in situations where legislators and nations try to make laws that are anathema to the people, laws that sweep away the rights of the people. A deep look into present circumstances globally may bring the issue of the existence of a deep state pulling the strings and directing the affairs of seemingly independent states. Concepts like state capture, debt trap diplomacy, politics of generosity, and the like become interesting fields to pursue. What will the relations of Africa and China and other pacts which tend to show neocolonialism is very much at work. The term state capture was first used by the World Bank around the year 2000 to describe the situation in certain Central Asian countries making a transition from Soviet communism. Specifically, it was applied to situations where small corrupt groups used their influence over government officials to appropriate government decision-making power in order to strengthen their own economic positions. These groups or members would later become known as oligarchs. Allegations of state capture led to protests against the government in Bulgaria in 2013 and 2014 and Romania in 2017 and have caused an ongoing controversy in South Africa beginning in 2016. The classical definition of state capture refers to the way formal procedures such as laws and social norms and government bureaucracy are manipulated by private individuals and firms so as to influence state policies and laws in their favor. State capture might be attempted through private lobbying and influence. Instances where politics have been ostensibly deformed by the power of drug barons in Colombia and Mexico are also considered as examples of state capture. China, Asia's superpower, has stepped up to the plate in helping other countries to tackle COVID-19, a virus the US constantly accuses her of creating. Many observers, however, wonder if it is simply playing the long game, a far-reaching propaganda campaign to strengthen its position on the world stage, saying China's debt trap diplomacy is little more than a fantasy. How does China's debt trap diplomacy work? Beijing is accused of luring developing or underdeveloped countries to borrow money for infrastructure projects and later controlling them if they fail to pay off their loans in time, while a US-based study says asset seizure is also a rare instance. Many describe China's economic goals in Africa and other parts of the world as a Trojan horse, with some analysts voicing criticism toward the multi-billion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) and accusing Beijing of laying debt traps with the help of the project. China is a major stakeholder in Africa's economy with a significant influence on many aspects of the continent's affairs. Recently, African countries have rapidly increased their borrowing from China. According to research conducted as part of the Jubilee Debt Campaign in October 2018, African countries owed China $10 billion in 2010, increasing to over $30 billion by 2016. China's lending to African nations is part of a large-scale overseas investment boom, forming part of the country's quest to become an economic superpower. The top 5 countries in Africa with the largest current Chinese debt are Angola, $25 billion, Ethiopia, $13.5 billion, Zambia, $7.4 billion, the Republic of Congo, $7.3 billion, and North Sudan, $6.4 billion, as at the last check. With the level of Africa's indebtedness to China, one can only hope and pray that the continent would be able to wriggle out from underneath the superpower and cut the strings to ensure a truly independent continent.
You're welcome back. We still have UC Kanu from the Nigerian Law School Lagos campus, and he's been talking about the sovereign guarantee clause. And he'll be giving us some other aspects of that clauses that we should look out for. And of course, he'll give us some recommendations and what to do in terms of securing loans or aids from other countries.
Is there a cause to be alarmed concerning the proposal to obtain this loan? I believe reasonably there is a cause for alarm, because we are talking about the sovereignty of this nation and the assets available to us. Considering what is happening now in the nation, the fight against corruption, we are seeing monumental cases where individuals are siphoning money to the detriment of the nation. How are we sure that this loan, when obtained, will be utilized appropriately in constructing the railways?
Okay, the Minister for Transportation seemed to feel that there is no cause for alarm, that the noise going around now is unnecessary. What is your take on that? Do we really have a cause for alarm? And what recommendations do you have going forward?
I will refer us to the provisions of Section 21, Subsection 1 of the Debt Management Office Establishment Act 2003. That section provides, no external loan shall be approved or obtained by the minister unless its terms and conditions shall have been laid before the National Assembly and approved by its resolution. Note the word, the terms and conditions to be laid before the National Assembly. In the circumstances of the case we are looking at, I do not think the terms and conditions have been laid before the National Assembly for their deliberation and subsequent approval. So if that is not done, it means that due process has not been followed. Secondly, we need to involve the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation to look into the pros and cons of this loan agreement. Where expert advice is needed, the office knows what to do.
Okay, we don't want to ask you anything on the bar book, so we're letting you go now. But we have some other Latin magazines for you in our bar book segments. We have the Pactum Sunt Servanda, Uberima Fide, and all that relating to contracts. But you get to find out more Latin magazines in our bar book segments. Well, that's as much you can take this week on the Courthouse. We learned about sovereign guarantee clauses and the implications if a nation defaults in fulfilling its loan agreements. Of course, we'll be bringing you some other aspects of the law in subsequent episodes, but we'd like to hear from you. We'd like you to send your questions to us. You see, we have legal experts who are ready to provide answers, free legal counsel for you. Keep your questions coming. We'd like you to download our app, Lover Plus, on any of the mobile app stores. And we'd like you to visit our website on www.loverplus.tv. I am Olomu-Agbodo. Don't just get mad. Go get a lawyer. Bye for now.